Controlling Hadoop jobs using Oozie. Lesson 3, BigInsights Workflow Editor. In this lesson we will look at the BigInsights Workflow Editor. Using the BigInsights Workflow Editor we can avoid having to write the XML files directly. The BigInsights Workflow Editor is a new feature and was introduced to BigInsights in version 2.0. This new workflow editor runs in an Eclipse environment. It supports complex Oozie workflows without requiring that you know the Oozie XML XDS schema. The workflow editor also displays a read-only diagram to show the overall workflow. With the workflow editor, you can develop the workflow.xml file that can run Java programs and scripts written in Jackal, Pig or Hive, and then deploy them to the Oozie server that we looked at in the previous two lessons. After completing this topic, you should be able to explain how to publish an application, describe how to define a recurring schedule for an application, explain how to link multiple applications to form a new application. The InfoSphere BigInsights tools for Eclipse are used to develop programs and scripts that you'll want to include in an application. With the InfoSphere BigInsights tools for Eclipse, you can develop and test InfoSphere BigInsights programs from your Eclipse environment and publish applications that contain workflows, text analytics modules, big sheets readers and functions, and Jackal modules, all to your cluster. After any of these, you can display applications to your cluster, after which you can run them through the BigInsights console. The BigInsights Workflow Publishing Wizard is essentially a graphical tool to create and modify a workflow.xml file. Once an application is deployed in a BigInsights server, there is a second graphical tool to create a recurring schedule, one that is used to create and modify the coordinator.xml file. Deployed applications can be linked together to create higher level flows controlled by another workflow.xml file. This new application must itself be deployed, and the resulting new application can also be scheduled. Effectively, you have workflows that can have sub-workflows. A lot of this work is done in the InfoSphere BigInsights tools for Eclipse, which is essentially an Eclipse module with BigInsights add-ins. The steps in developing applications are well documented in the online documentation. To find this documentation, do a Google search, BigInsights Tools for Eclipse 2.1 Tutorial. We're going to concentrate in this lesson on the major steps, those that are used to publish and deploy applications. This is the approach taken in the corresponding lab exercise for this lesson. We assume that you have already developed a workflow either manually or with the workflow editor tool. Here in this screenshot we already have projects in the Project Explorer in the panel to the left. We select a particular project, load max temp, and right click on this project. Then select export, and finally choose BigInsights Application Publish. We select which BigInsights server we wish to deploy to, or if need be, create the definition for a new BigInsights server. The second screenshot here shows how we create the new application that we are publishing. Give it a name, select the display icon, and specify some of the categories under which this application will run. For the moment, take a mental note of the name, the icon, and the category chosen. The category or categories will later appear on the BigInsights console as category folders under the Applications tab. Here, as part of publishing this application, we choose application type as workflow and provide additional properties and property type information. For some properties, we need to supply input parameters, define default values and dependencies, and the nature of these parameters. Finally, we need to specify the additional files needed by the workflow, including libraries or jar files. We have now specified all the ingredients that are needed for the workflow.xml that is being silently built underneath all of this. In the earlier slide, we put our workflow into the category test with the name load max temp. We can now go to the BigInsights console, shown here, and select this application for deployment. Note that the icon we previously specified during the publishing step appears on the right as the icon for this application during the deployment within the BigInsights console. The application name is also the name that we specified earlier. Deployed applications can be scheduled. Here we schedule this application as a scheduled job to be run on a single occasion, frequency 1, at a particular date and time, or to run regularly this application on a scheduled basis until a final date and time. Effectively, underneath the GUI, we are building the Oozie coordination file coordinator.xml, and this screen is effectively the Oozie coordinator editor. At a higher level, we can link multiple applications to run in sequence. You will see the flow shown graphically at the bottom right-hand side, while underneath all this is built the workflow.xml file that links this Uber workflow with sub-workflows as elements within it. We now have a master workflow that self-controls other workflows below it. On this screen, we connect the output or outputs from a previous action or actions, allowing data to be passed from one action to another in a more complex workflow. These are some of the steps that you will see in the lab exercise that accompanies this lesson. The linked application is in effect an application itself, albeit a higher level application, and accordingly it itself must be deployed. You have now completed this topic and are ready for the corresponding lab exercise.